It's so exciting to see so many other owners from the community. Seriously, it's very, I'm gonna have to take a screen grab. Well, actually, sorry, we're all able to see this, aren't we? If you use that little, maybe somebody on my team can remind me the gallery view, I think is what it's called. If you look at the gallery view, you can see everybody else joining too. That's so great. We're just gonna wait a couple of minutes as we always do before we get started. Just giving everybody a chance to join us here today. Again, good morning and thank you to everyone for being here. We really appreciate your time. Okay, let me get out of this view. Good morning to our panelists as well. I'm now scrolling through the hundreds of people and I can see Nicole Rubio. Good morning, hello. And it's great to see you. Thank you, Nicole, for making the time. And Nika, I see you right there as well. I love your, oh, great to see you. Now let me try and find Jerry. Where is he? Okay. Zoom. Oh, there you are, great, yes. Zoom doesn't allow you to organize your views.
Good morning.
Anybody else there having COVID challenges and needing to double up on their reading glasses as I am? I always make a comment about this and feel bad, but I'll start by saying, you know, the contacts are just not enough having to live in a Zoom world. I'm having to wear massive readers and still go up close on my screen. So I don't know if anybody else is facing that problem, but it's a small screen world these days, isn't it? Okay, cool. So we're almost around the 8 o'clock mark, but I am just gonna give a little bit of a grace period, just allowing everybody to get organized and join the line today. Okay. I'll scroll through and just see if I can find everybody on the Outdoorsy team inside. I see a couple of familiar faces, Alex and April, which is great. Hopefully you guys that are joining us today from the Outdoorsy community have had a chance to meet so many people from the Outdoorsy team, marketing and product and engineering and customer service and claims. We've got a pretty significant organization, and we're used to really being out in the field with everybody and in meetups. So hopefully you can find them on the Zoom gallery view. I'm gonna give us just one more moment here and then I'm gonna kick us off. Let me just check my, perfect, okay, great. Hopefully everybody has their coffee this morning as well. We're coming to you from 3 different time zones today. I'm in Pacific Standard Time, and I believe we are also covering Central Time and Eastern Standard Time as well. So from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. across the country. Cool, okay. Okay guys, it's 8 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, so I'm gonna go ahead and kick us off today. Thank you again to everybody joining, truly. We're really excited to have everybody here. This is, goodness, I think this is the 4th or the 5th panel in our series, Mapping the Road Ahead, Post-Pandemic RV Travel. So for those of you that are joining us for the first time today, I just wanted to start by telling you a little bit about why we started this series. Our goal was to provide the most up-to-date and valuable information and resources for everybody in the Outdoorsy community, but with a real specific focus on the information needs from all of our RV, motorhome, camper van owners. There were so many concerns and questions amidst these uncertain times, and we really wanted to take a leadership position and a positive voice trying to help everybody with the transition and cover content about big picture items as well as some that you are tackling today. So, and I will not jump into housekeeping items right now, but maybe I will do one quick call out for everybody to go on mute. I think we try and handle that on our side on the tech. But if not, and if you could put yourselves on mute, that would be great. I think we have almost 1,000 people on the call today, so could be a little noisy otherwise. But getting back to the reason why we started this panel of series, it's really all about you guys. We wanted our entire community to really feel confident in the future and know that we did as well. So our series has brought together a lot of industry experts, essentially, for everybody to talk about what does the future of the industry look like? Is it safe? Can we do rentals again? How do we tackle knowing and understanding about the changes in any of the destinations, national parks, state parks, private RV parks? How do we understand what are some new considerations that we have to incorporate in terms of cleaning standards or just customer experience standards for people that rent our vehicles? So, you know, the good news is we knew back then that the outdoor and the travel industry was really going to thrive in the future and potentially would see some new benefits as a result of COVID. So I hope you guys feel that way as well. If you've been reading the news at all lately, you're probably certain, as we are, that RV travel or road travel is really having a moment. RV purchases are at an all-time high, and everybody is really looking for other ways to travel outside of the standard airline and hotel options. So this is a perfect time for you guys to not only make money on your investment, but also to provide really useful ways for other families to travel safe and affordably and enjoy all the benefits that everybody on this call knows, that spending time together with people you love and meeting new people on the road it provides outdoors. So if you missed any of those series, any of those panel discussions that I had mentioned to you before, no worries, you can go back to a number of places and you can listen to all of those. In fact, I like to even go back, of course I moderate these sessions, but I like to go back and remind myself of some of the key points. Please feel free to do that as well. You can find all of those on outdoorsy.com and on a blog post that we are going to post in our chat function and also in our follow-up email and in our private community group for RV owners. So today, however, our discussion is focusing on how to successfully run an RV rental business. So how we like to define or describe that is more than one rig. I think a lot of our owners here have one rig and are doing a really good job using our dashboard and the insurance products and customer service and roadside assistance and all of the marketing support that we provide. But a lot of you guys are asking, how easy is it really for me to maybe take the next step and start a side hustle? How can I learn some extra income on Outdoorsy? What questions do I have to ask myself before I would even decide to grow a fleet or just even get a second or third vehicle? What are the benefits that Outdoorsy provides in managing that transition? How do we set you guys up for success? All of those questions. So if you've been thinking about those questions on your mind, then this is the perfect panel for you guys. And really proud to have an excellent range of owners with us here today to talk through that. We've got a good cross or a good mix from having Nika, Nicole, and Jerry be our main panelists today. So they really represent a good range of anywhere owning from 1 vehicle to 13 and working either part-time or full-time in their business, and they're here to share their insights. So let me start by introducing the panelists. Just because we found for saving time, this is the best way to do it. But as we get through the questions, guys, to everybody on the line, know that you'll have a chance to get to know them a little bit more as they share their insights and stories. And please feel free to use that chat function, even starting right now, if you wanted to learn more or you're connecting with one person's story and you have questions specific to them. But first, I'd like to start by introducing Nika, and if Nika can raise her hand and give us a wave so everybody knows who I'm talking about. Thank you, Nika. Nika is a California native. She is the co-founder of Chill RV. They're based in Los Angeles. Really cool story. I've known her for a couple of years. Her and her father started Chill RV. They started with 1 vehicle in 2016. They've grown that fleet to 13 units. She is really, really focused on the customer experience and the guest experience. So if you're interested in figuring out how do I focus on training renters, how do I use different channels or messaging to do that, she's the person to talk to. She's hosted over 900 renters. So that's a great, great group of, amount of experience. And she really believes that the success to her business is listening to what those renter needs and then applying them back into her overall guest experience. We also have Nicole Rubio joining us. I'm not sure if many of you have met Nicole. I'll ask her to wave so that everybody knows who she is. Thank you, Nicole, for joining. Nicole is definitely a big star in the outdoorsy community. Her and her husband, David, they are the owners of Rolling Retreats, also based in California. They have just a lovely story. Their passion for their business, which is renting out both trailers and Class B camper vans. They started in 2018 with one trailer as well, by the way. And in 2 years, they grew up to 6. I think they've got fifth wheels and camper vans, but Nicole will tell us more about that as we get into the session today. Their story is powered by a real sense of meaning, because a lot of the money that they make and the fundings and the funds that come from their business gets pushed back into helping families. And they have a passion in particular for helping children in NICU and really helping work through different hospitals to be able to use their rental business to assist for these, helping out families in times of crisis. And also they have also been a really big team in helping us with any of the emergency housing programs that we've set up for fire victims or, homing and healthcare essential workers during COVID. There we go. The first COVID challenge of the day with the dog in the background. Unfortunately, I can't go on mute. Lucy, many of you might have met Lucy at meetups along the way. Let me just ask her to politely go outside. There she goes. So hopefully we won't hear her barking again. I apologize for that, guys. Lastly, before we get into the conversation, which is why you guys are all here, let me just introduce, please, Jerry Dufour. Jerry's in Alabama, so not on Pacific Standard Time. He is a great, passionate young entrepreneur. He started his business 3 years ago, and just over 1 year, he's built his business up to 7 RVs, I think. He is massively into bike racing, and he spent a lot of time actually living in an RV to figure out, okay, how does this work? How do I understand the vehicle? How do I set this up? He really wants to build his business around his own personal passion and traveling. And you're gonna hear from him today. My introduction, I'm not sure if I've met everybody on the call today, so let me just quickly introduce myself. My name is Jen Young. I'm one of the co-founders of Outdoorsy. I moderate the discussion with our owners. My partner, Jeff, and I, we started this business back in 2015, and the very first things that we did was move into a Airstream trailer and a Denali truck. And we spent most of our time talking to owners and renters and park owners, figuring out what was really important to you guys in building this business. Our first meetups, we've come a long ways in 5 years, but our first meetups were in parking lots, coffee shops, at RV rental businesses, and in living rooms with people trying to figure it out. So I definitely miss those days and hope to get on the road again. It's really cool, though, to now know that we're a community over 600,000 people all across the US, Canada, and many countries internationally. And it's really been the insights that we have picked up from all of you guys that have allowed us to be able to build a marketplace as strong today. So sincere appreciation and thank you to everybody here. Okay, let's get into the topics. We're going to open up our conversation. We're covering 4 basic topics today, diving into what our owners can tell us and what did they know when they think back to when they were first publishing their first or second listings. What were the thoughts running through their heads? What were they most excited or nervous about in running a business and trying to do this on a more professional basis? What made them choose Outdoorsy? What were the benefits of listing in a community-driven platform? What were their financial expectations when they first listed their beginning couple of vehicles? And how did that change as they grew into a bigger business? And how do they create unique and special experiences for renters? So those are the main topics that we're going to cover today. One last note on the housekeeping front. I think hopefully a lot of you guys are accessing our owner resources. We do have a private Facebook owners group that I think has about 15,000 highly engaged, very successful owners. We have a ton of resources on blog and dashboard and website as well. And we're excited to tell everybody today that we are launching a new owner's handbook. This has been a project in the works for the last few months. It's a significant undertaking of an aggregated view of all of the best owner insights that we've picked up over the last 6 months. I think it's 30 pages deep of new and updated content. This is always ever evolving for us and our team, but it's written in a much more digestible way. And there's new sections that you guys can learn about in terms of having more context and information on how to handle difficult renter situations, and some specific to COVID. So at the end of this session, we will post those links, if we're not already doing that, on where you can find it, but very easy to just log into your dashboard. It should be there, and you'll receive follow-up emails and find it also in FAQs. So just wanted to point that out for everybody, and I'll follow up at the end of the session, reminding you where you can find those resources as well. Okay, let's get into the topic discussions for today. I'm going to start with Nicole. You know, so many owners that have one vehicle, Nicole, you know, they've started their business and they view that vehicle as their baby, you know, their personal investment, and they're sort of dabbling around renting it out a couple of times here and there. But it's, you know, it's a little difficult to watch it drive away for the first time and sort of make that transition into thinking about renting RVs as more of a business. Can you go back and tell us what were your first thoughts running through your head, and what were you most excited or nervous about when you decided to really go for it and earn some more money tackling this as a business?
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, I think the first concerns were, what are they going to do to my trailer? Are they going to be kind to it? You know, it goes from, are they going to make a spill, or are they going to crash it and total it, and how's that going to be handled? And so all those fears, we went right to the Outdoorsy Facebook page, and we just researched and read and read and read. And then we talked to Jessa, and a lot of concerns were alleviated just from the experience of other owners and how they handled things, and the response that we got from Outdoorsy when we asked questions. Dave's a researcher, so he looked into a lot of things, and we felt a lot better. And on the personal side, once I kind of took our favorite things out of the trailer and stocked it with rental status items, still good quality, but not my favorite blanket type of a thing. And it really alleviated a lot of the concern, because now it's switched over to an investment. And then, of course, when the first couple deposits came in, then it got a little exciting, and you're like, oh, okay, this is really a thing here. We're not just loaning our trailer, we have a side business going. And getting, like I said, getting rid of the personal stuff and thinking of it as an investment and not my personal trailer really helped an awful lot.
Was there a period of time, Nicole, like after a certain number of rentals, when you were sort of like over that, and now you're like, okay, my mindset has shifted, I get it, I see the dollars coming in, and now I think about this more? Like, was it after your, you know, first, second, third, fifth rental? Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think it was probably about the third time that it went out, and we had great renters the first couple, and the first rental was their first time. And so we kind of got to be first together, and now we're friends. Now we're Facebook friends, and we help each other's businesses. It was really awesome. You make friends with these people a lot of times. But it did take about 3 before I was able to more disassociate it as my personal trailer and become an investment.
An investment vehicle, absolutely. And so, Nika, how do you think about this? How did you? What were some of the first thoughts running through your head as you were like considering going from one vehicle to 2 vehicles, or really thinking about this as a way to make more professional income?
Well, with us, we got our first RV knowing that it was going to be a business. That was the whole intention behind it. So right away, we didn't put our favorite blankets into it. We equipped it with everything that we wanted for our renters to have. We listed our first RV, it was a Mercedes Winnebago, and then we got it totally booked. I think within maybe 2 or 3 weeks, we got it totally booked. So then we thought, oh my gosh, what is this? This is incredible. So then right away we got a second vehicle. Again, same story, totally booked out within a couple of weeks. And then we're like, okay, this is a hit. Let's not miss this. So then we got our third vehicle right away. It was like back to back to back.
And what were the first things that you did as you set out?
Well, so now we have training videos, but back when we started, we used to go and we would bring the RV to our clients, and then we would do the training for them right at their house. So, I know a lot of times with these things, you have to learn from experience. These owners, they're so lucky because they get to watch these panels and they get to learn from experience. And when we started, this wasn't available, so we just kind of sort of had to figure it out. A lot of things, you have to start, and then you'll figure it out.
That was a quick little pause as I tried to deal with the dog. Sorry, guys. One of the things I said at the beginning of this panel is we've got such a good cross-section of, Nika, you started this going into it as a business, and Nicole, you and your husband sort of graduated and moved up towards that. Jerry, I think you're a really good example of, hey, you just had a passion for time spent outdoors, and you kind of fell into like understanding how the vehicle worked and then built it up. So can you talk about like, what was your approach? What were the first steps? I think you talked about your first steps were like living in an RV to like figure out, what do I need to know about how to get this business going? But can you tell us a little bit more about that experience?
Yeah, so getting my first RV was to travel to races. And like I said, I kind of lived in it for a summer. But when I bought it to kind of help myself go for that, big price point, I was like, I'll rent it out in the winter after I found Outdoorsy. So got back home after, a race season of traveling, living in it for a summer, put it up for rent. I think like on my way back and, within a day or two, I got I think like a week-long booking or something. Luckily down south and kind of fall period, you have football and all that good stuff. So plenty of demand. But it was the same thing. It was that first few times, it was like, that's kind of my baby going out, but then after, 4 or 5 rentals, you start getting the hang of it and you're like, oh, these people, they're very respectful, you train them so they kind of know what they're doing. And you feel a little bit more and more comfortable. And then at some point a flip switched and was like, oh, maybe I should get another one. Demand's pretty high. I like RVs. I like traveling. I enjoy meeting these people. So it just kind of snowballed after that. So yeah, I think kind of the same boat as those guys, just getting comfortable with it after the few rentals and seeing that it can be an actual business instead of just a way to pay for the RV as well.
Yeah, great point. For all of you guys, it's the first thing was really a mindset change, right? It's like, okay, I can do this. And then after second, third, or fourth rentals, you're like, okay, I can start to now think about this more from a business context than my own personal prized possession. Can we talk a little bit about like the dollars behind it or financial expectations? Love again for Nicole, for you to talk about this because you sort of represent the, in the middle where you guys had a single RV, but you knew a little bit more quickly that you were going to start to grow that business versus Nika, who came into it totally business minded. What were your financial expectations when you listed your first vehicle, and how did that change as now you've grown your business and have like, is it, and talk about how many vehicles you have in your fleet now.
Okay, well, when we first started, our main goal was not to sell the RV because he wanted to sell the trailer. It was taking up space. We were too busy. I'm a realtor, so my summers are pretty booked, and he wanted to sell it. So we kind of came to an agreement. Well, let's find a way to monetize it. So we rented it, and our goal in the beginning was just to get the payments made, just to not have it be a debt in our budget. And now after that 2.5 years, we've fluctuated between, I think at one point we've had 9 units. Now we are switching a tad bit. We are getting more into drivable Class B camper vans, which are awesome, by the way, and a little less travel trailers because there's a lot less, there's more bang for your buck basically in a Class B drivable versus a 10-person travel trailer where I have to do laundry and clean for a 10-person travel trailer. So we've switched that over a tad bit. And now we're looking at maybe about 100,000 this year on 6 units, 3 of which are consignments that we manage for other people. And like you had said, we also partner alongside a foundation that
Okay, I'm just going to do a quick check. Is anybody noticing Nicole's, okay, yeah, I'm getting some nods. Oh, darn. And you know what, Nicole? I bet this is what everybody wants to hear. The time everybody is super tuned in to understanding $100,000 across 6 vehicles and what is the best mix and how much work and how much laundry do I have to do to make that $100,000. So let's give Nicole a minute to log back in because that's really important information for everybody for sure. Nika, can you talk a little bit about how did you start thinking about, okay, how much money can I make on these units? How much work do I have to do? Do I need to hire somebody to help me? Like, how do I start thinking about finances?
Yeah, totally. So even though we went into this as a business, the whole reason we even went into this is because my dad really wanted an RV. And then my mom said, absolutely not. No way, we're not getting an RV. It's just it's an expense and a liability. And he said, well, let's see if we can make money on this. He's an entrepreneur, has a great entrepreneurial mind. And his logic was this: look, we can, I don't know if people know this, but a motorhome, you can actually finance it like a house. You can get a mortgage on it. And he said, look, we can get a mortgage on it, and our monthly payments are going to be about $500 plus insurance. Overall, say $700 a month, okay? If we can list it and we can sell it for the same price as a Cruise America vehicle, we will break even, and actually we're going to start making a profit already. So worst case scenario, we'll have an RV, we'll rent it out once in a while, and then we'll cover the cost, we'll have an RV. And when we got our first vehicle, we listed it, I remember it was in July, and we listed it for 4th of July for $200 a night. We have Mercedes Winnebagos, so it's brand new then. And I mean, I think that's probably why it booked out so quickly, is because we were listing it at $200 a night. And as we saw all these requests coming in, we would raise our prices just to see kind of where's that break-even point, where's that point where clients are at this point like, oh, that's too expensive, I don't want to rent it anymore. And we were able to keep raising the prices. And we figured out that at that point, we could rent our vehicles at $310 a night easily, and they were still booking really well. So we were expecting to rent them at $70 a night and turn a profit. At this point, we're renting them at $300 a night. So definitely making a profit. Right now, sorry, do you have a question?
No, please finish. Go on with that thought. I do have a question for you, but please finish.
Yeah, so right now we have a fleet of 13, and then next week we're gonna get 1 more. So we're gonna have a fleet of 14. 8 of them are ours, and then the rest are consignment vehicles. Overall, we anticipate that we're gonna make somewhere around $500,000 this year.
That's fantastic. And that's such an excellent case study of how to scale a business. Let me ask you, Nika, can you talk a little bit about how you handle depreciation of your vehicles?
You know, to be quite honest with you, Jen, I know a lot of these rental companies, they wait for their vehicles to have a certain amount of miles, usually somewhere between 30 to 60, and then they sell them. We don't do that because our vehicles are Mercedes Winnebago diesel, Mercedes diesel. They're estimated to run somewhere around 500,000. So our oldest vehicles are 2016s. They have about 140,000 miles on them, and they're still running like champions. So at this point, we have not sold them. I think probably for us, it's a little bit too late to sell them. The value that what we've decided is that the amount that we could sell them for versus how much we earn from them from renting them, we make way more from renting them. And then we decided that once they are no longer operable, they're for some reason can't drive, we're either going to fix them up, get a new transmission, or we're going to convert them into Airbnb units. So maybe get a plot of land somewhere and then have them as tiny homes. Or alternatively, maybe we can also use them as offices. So drop the price on them and then rent them out as offices locally.
Oh, that's great. And so how much time does this take for you and or for other people like your dad and people that are working in the business? Can you give us some context for you? Get great job in giving us a good understanding of how much top line revenue you're making and how that splits out between the vehicles you own versus the vehicles that you consign. But how much time does this take?
All the time. I mean, at this point, it's great because at this point, we actually have a full staff, a full team that helps us out. So thankfully, we're able to have a little bit more free time. Well, I'm able to have a little bit more free time. My dad definitely, he is a lot more busy because he still handles the repairs and the maintenance, and he hasn't been able to delegate that quite as well. But up until this point, I think the hardest part, or the most challenging, I don't want to say hard because it is a challenge that you could overcome. For us, it was somewhere between 8 and 12 units. At that point, at one point it got to be a little overwhelming, to be honest, because we hadn't scaled our staff. And so we were still trying to do everything ourselves, all the phone calls, the emails, the client support. And clients do call when they're on the road, the repairs, the breakdowns, the cleaning, like there's a lot that goes into it. And so, but it does get easier, I think, the more units you get, because at that point you could hire help.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really does differ based on how many units you have. I know you keep yours, like every one of your units is like constantly out on the road. And we'll go back to this when we get to the Q&A, guys. We'll go back to digging a little bit more into how much time and what's the commitment. But I think it is fair to say, I mean, moving from just doing a couple of rentals while you're not using your vehicle in the summer to actually thinking about, hey, how much income can I make and maximize this is definitely a mind shift. And it also requires a commitment to the time and energy around it for sure. Jerry, can you talk to us a little bit about what your financial expectations were going in and generally how this has built over time in terms of income for you?
Yeah, going in, like I said, before I bought the RV, I looked at renting it to kind of offset the cost. So going in, I was hoping, okay, 6 months out of the year, I'll rent it out and, try to break even on this thing. So that was my thought going in. As soon as I kind of saw the demand, I was like, okay, maybe I can rent this thing out, get another one, and, make, a decent wage, whatever, $20,000-$30,000 a year with 2 RVs, something like that. Since then, this year with everything that's going on, I've had a lot more time to focus on it since everything else is kind of canceled. So the past 3 months, we've gone, it's really me, one employee, and Don, my RV guy, who is amazing, who he can fix anything, which I don't know how I'd do without him, but from 6 to 9 RVs over the past 3 months. And if you kind of average out those months, you're looking at like 30 to 40,000 in revenue per month, with about 50 to 60 profit of that being profit. So I'm hoping to grow and keep it like that. But as you can tell, the expectations of what you can bring in has changed drastically from 3 years ago until 3 months ago. So
Yeah.
definitely has potential for anyone out there looking to rent out their personal RV or grow it into a business.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point, by the way, on just like the basics of supply and demand. I talked about it a little bit when we kicked off, but clearly the road travel and the RV industry is having its time in the sun. I can share with you that in terms of Outdoorsy.com, starting in May, 90% of our web traffic was first-time users. brand new people that had never considered renting a fifth wheel or a camper van or a trailer or a motorhome or a Class C of any kind. So there's a ton of new demand coming in. One thing I will point out, and maybe we'll get to this as well in the Q&A, is it's great to have that overall massive demand, but that demand will change depending on what market you're in, right? So making sure that you understand what type of rig or type of RV to choose based on what state you're in or even what city you're in, and then looking and doing some research, in outdoorsy.com in your local area to find out how many Class Cs are there, how many trailers, are teardrops a popular vehicle. So diving into understanding what kind of demand you have in your local market area is really important. And I think, Jerry, you did a bit of that, didn't you? Can you talk a little bit about, or I think it was also Nicole too, that both of you guys did some really good research to find out what kind of rigs do I want to purchase to make an investment in. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Definitely research what your market, whatever area you're in. I know, kind of to agree with Nicole a little bit, she was saying that she's kind of moving away from the travel trailers because she sees the, better bang for your buck in the vans, both from an owner and a renter perspective, possibly. My experience being in the South, the Class Cs are, not overly saturated like Nicole may have said in her area, but they definitely seem to be the best bang for your buck for renters. They're looking to sleep, mom, dad, 2, 3 kids, beds on either side of the RV. So that's always nice for them. They're looking for something not huge because a lot of times, like Jennifer was saying, especially this year, 95% of people who come and rent one of my RVs, it's the first time they've ever camped in an RV at all. So they're looking for something easy to drive. They're not looking for a huge bus. I do believe there are some people out there looking for a huge bus, but I think more people are looking for 25 to 30 feet long, not much longer than your Suburban, just taller, so they can squeeze into a parking space. They can swing around a corner without worrying about hitting the rear wheels, things like that. So they feel safe, but still can sleep 5, 6 people, So I think doing that research, seeing what's in your area first off, like Nicole was doing, I'm sure Nika's done it, seeing what's out there. You can also, Outdoorsy, you can click on the calendar and see how, much they're being booked. You can also look at your reviews and see when the last review was, like if it was last month or 4 months ago, things like that. Just those 2 simple things are 2 great ways to research. And also, if you want to get deeper into it, look into Google searches in your area, all that good stuff. So some people are looking for Class C, some people are looking for Class A's, some people just want a travel trailer to be delivered. So definitely research will be the first thing to do to make sure you don't buy a $100,000 RV that no one wants to rent. So.
Those were awesome specific examples. Thank you for that, Jerry. Nicole, would you have anything to add before we moved into the next section about ideas on like how to research? Oh, so, and by the way, I'm so glad you're back because what you kicked off and we're talking about, I think will relate to so many families, right? In terms of how you were growing the business to 100,000, but needing to figure out what that impact was going to be on your family for time. So we're going to get back to that in Q&A, but you kicked off a really awesome area of discussion. Anything that you would add in terms of market research and how everybody can make the best decisions about what vehicles to pick, whether you're in the South or California or West?
Yes. Well, and you kind of have to also say, what do I want? Well, I wanted a teardrop and the market research did not support that. So we don't have a teardrop, but they're cute. But we just searched Outdoorsy and we searched our area and we wanted to see what are people renting. And then we also kind of thought, well, what's out there in the market? Okay, so we're seeing rentals, but there were very few camper vans in our area. And we checked what the ones out of our area were doing, and they're booked solid and they're getting good amounts. So we decided, well, let's jump into the Class B arena. Travel trailer, got a Class B, and it was like Nika said, it was just like flying off the shelf. There was just booked solid. I did learn that a one-day turnaround is a little hard. So we kind of have to, we try to put a little space in between rentals just in case there's an error we need to fix with the trailer or the van. But that's kind of what we did, is we spent a lot of time on Outdoorsy just searching and looking at other people's listings. That's where we did say, we did find out, as much as we wanted a Class C drivable, our market's saturated here. And they want the bigger travel trailers and the drivables. There weren't many, so we got a small Class B, brand new, and it's been going crazy. I am on satellite internet, by the way, so I do have a little bit of connection issues once in a great while, so sorry I had to leave there.
Well, don't leave us, because your comments are so valuable, and we got a lot of questions for you coming up in the Q&A. One quick question, just going back to how you guys first tackled making the move from like having a personal RV into setting up a business. How did you arrange your rental business? Is it a registered licensed business now, or do you keep that as personal? Any advice for our owners on the call?
Well, it is a business. Where we're located, we do not need to have the business license, but I'm a member of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm an ambassador for the business. We have business cards. We have all of our little swag, we kind of share it wherever we go. And we do taxes. We have, it's on our taxes. So it's a legitimate business. And being out in the community like I am with my other business, it's so easy to get the word out and to spread the word. Nobody had heard of it when we started in our area. So that was pretty awesome. We're actually being able to break some ground in our area, and we get a lot of questions and a lot of weird requests, but we're able to help as much as we can.
Thank you for that. So overall, you guys, are you looking to buy new RVs for your second, third, or fourth vehicle, or are you looking immediately into a secondhand market or good used RVs?
Personally, me, I'm looking for a good used RV. I think there's such a good market out there for slightly used RVs. Unfortunately, RVs depreciate pretty quick from being new. If you were to buy an RV brand new last year versus waiting a year and buying that same RV with 1,000 more miles on it, it would be several $1,000s more, in my opinion. So I'm looking for slightly used, as new as I can get RVs, really.
And what about for you guys, Nika and Nicole?
So we are actually not purchasing any more new RVs ourselves. All the new units that we're acquiring into the fleet, they are all consignment units at this point, because we've decided that the way we do the consignment is we split half of the profit. So 50-50, we get 50, they get 50 after the expenses. So it's a partnership, and we can talk a little bit more about that later. But for us, a brand new vehicle costs about $100,000, whereas instead, if a private owner buys a vehicle and lets us manage it, we get a lot more money from that without having to spend $100,000. And at this point, we've been in business for 4 years, about 4 years, and we've built up a reputation, an honest reputation, and we've had a lot of repeat clients that have rented with us over the years, and we've opened up the conversation with them about, hey, we have this fleet management program, and if you'd like to have your own RV, we can help you with the payments, let us manage it for you, and then you can still use it whenever you want to use it, and you can cover all the payments. In my experience, I saw in the questions, one of the folks had asked, how do you get people to join a consignment or let you rent out the vehicle for them? Just ask. Tell them that you have this program, put it into the world, and then some people want to do that. They'll have interest in it. So that's how we're growing our fleet.
Oh, that's great. And you know what? You're right. It brings up, excuse me, guys. It brings up a really big area of discussion around consignment programs, which we'll get into. But just since we're sort of talking about finances and how the money sort of breaks down and whether or not you get more bang for your buck buying new versus used, let's just talk a little bit about the range of finances on consignment programs. So whether or not you are a consignee or a consignor, whether or not you have a program where you can take other personal RVs and sell them on behalf of other owners. And Nika, you said that that split for you right now is 50-50 in terms of revenue. Is that correct? And or does Nicole or Jerry have any other insights around their experience with the right split for revenue on consignment?
Yeah, that's we have 2 consignments and same thing there, 50-50. I feel like that's really good value. I feel like, if it was any, it could be lower, but I mean, we would like to put it, have it top notch, have it as good as can be. So I think that's a fair evaluation, especially knowing how much work it can be going into it.
Yeah, that's how we do ours also. All of ours now are, well, going forward, they're all 50-50. And that, like the others were saying too, that really gives a good amount back to the owner, where it would be sitting in a lot somewhere. Now it's out helping families, helping couples vacation, and they're still getting some profit. They're making their payments, and we're making some along the way also.
Absolutely. And just for everybody that's dialing in today, we are getting much more serious around how we can facilitate consignment programs, both if you have a single vehicle and you want to put it into a consignment program and take the 50% revenue, or whether or not you want to build up your own consignment program. So we'll talk about that at the end in terms of where the resources as well and who you should reach out to on our side if you want more one-to-one training and understanding around that. But just because of the time, we have 15 minutes left on our time for the panel. I'm going to switch gears and take us into the Q&A section. We have, I think, goodness, over 1,000 owners on the line right now, and so many fantastic questions for all of you guys. So we want to be able to get to as many of those questions as possible. Also reminding everybody, if you don't hear your question being asked or answered on this session, we do wrap up with the full transcribed document, and we include in that transcription all of the remaining Q&As and answers for them. So your questions will definitely be answered, but let's tackle a couple of them right now. Nicole, there's a question for you around where do you find, maybe even in the beginning days when you had, when you're running your business from your home or just had 1 or 2 to now, but where do you find is the best place to keep the RV for pickups and drop-offs? Do you like to do that at your home or at a storage facility? And does that change in terms of like where you keep all the units versus when you're doing a pickup and drop-off?
Well, at the moment, we keep them all on our property. We're a little bit rural. We're not too far out of town. Easy to get on and off the freeway from where we're at, which is a great location. So yeah, they are all at home, and that enables it to keep our costs down. Dave has been doing a lot of deliveries, especially with COVID. People that aren't normally campers are now, they can't go to Disneyland, so they're camping. So he's been doing an awful lot of deliveries. So it makes it easier for me too when I'm cleaning and restocking. Everything is right there out the back door. That's why we're keeping our unit numbers a little lower, because we've got a parking lot around we were parking around our property, and he does movable RVs all the time to be able to get everyone in its little spot. Dave did buy, I'm not going to get the name right, but he did buy this little movable RV thing, and he hooks up and he can make a little tractor. It's really pretty awesome. It's his little toy. But yeah, we keep them all on the property, and we've kept our expenses pretty low. We basically do everything. My daughter was helping with cleaning until she moved, so now I'm doing it all myself. And we do have a part-time driver that assists when we have too many deliveries on one day. but for the most part, it's all kept on property.
Okay, great answer. Thank you. Here's another question coming from the crew. I'm not sure exactly who this came from and would probably need a couple more specifics, but somebody is asking, I've got one travel trailer and I was pretty booked out this summer, but my rentals have now dropped to none. What can I do? What are some recommendations I can do to book my rentals? And maybe what I'll ask my team, because there's a bunch of people that are working in the background to make sure that we provide a really good panel and answer everybody's questions. See if we can find out maybe what type of listings or what state they're in. But what are some of your recommendations on how other owners can boost their rentals or rental requests?
Well, what we've done, we're in California, so we kind of have a little more of about 10 months out of the year. But I've started advertising now for holiday housing, and I do cute little ads on Facebook, and it's I usually get like a funny picture of, okay, an older man in his boxer shorts at the Christmas tree. And I'll say something like, save your kids the therapy and rent Papa a trailer for Christmas, so that your family can still be there and enjoy the holidays, but you don't have grandma or grandpa under your feet the whole time. They're in the driveway in their own little self-contained unit. We did get a lot of wedding and holiday events last year. So I don't know if it's the marketing, but I would like to claim that. So it's being fun, and you have to be fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like producing content and advertising on your own social channels. Everybody generally has some version of a Facebook page or an Instagram channel or friends and family and emails. I know Outdoorsy has a lot of content that we share also on our channels that you guys can copy and use on your own social channels, but really driving that word of mouth and including reasons for people to consider renting RVs outside of the standard summer season or camping utes is a really great suggestion. I can tell you a lot of the rentals that came in to Outdoorsy this summer were for daycare needs. A lot of people were wanting to rent a trailer, have it in their backyard or somewhere on their property so that the adults could have time, personal time indoors, and they could like kick the kids out and know that they would be safe in a great trailer that they could use as like a play area. So that was a really good suggestion. Thank you for that. Changing gears from marketing conversations, here's a good question for Jerry, specific to repairs. So what type of repairs do you find are needed, and what's the cost of the repairs?
I mean, it could be anything. There's so many, depending on your RV, there's a lot of systems on the RV. Anything from AC to awning to hot water heater. The hard parts are kind of behind the walls when you have to take, out panels and get in there. Like I was saying before, I have a guy, Don. He's great. He's been working on RVs for 30 plus years. The awesome thing about him, which I encourage other people to do, is find someone who does mobile repairs, meaning he comes to our location, works on the RVs. Luckily, he lives like 10 minutes down the road. So we have all the RVs in one location. We do a post-rental checklist. Let's just say the water pump is not working now for some reason, or working weird or something. Hey, Don, water pump isn't working weird on Buddy. All of ours are named. Can you go check it out? He goes, checks it out. Oh, your whatever switch. I try not to get into it too much, but this needs to be replaced, repaired. Here's the part. We order the part. He gets it on order. He repairs it. We don't have to take it into a dealership or something an hour down the road, have it sit there for a week. That's, lost revenue. That's, you have to cancel somebody's trip. Another thing to point out that we were discussing is if you do plan on getting multiple RVs, trying to have kind of similar RVs. That way, if, say you have A and B RV, they're identical. A RV needs a new air conditioning and it's going out that weekend, but BRV isn't going out that weekend. You can, move someone into that one that's identical, or you can have kind of extra parts, have an extra AC already ordered. That way a little bit more bang for your buck and a little bit more, the odds are higher of needing that extra part as opposed to having 5 RVs. They're all 5 very different. They all have 5 different AC units. You know, they all have 5 different awnings. So
I love
definitely
that point.
mobile repair is key for us. It would be pretty horrendous if we had to take it to a dealership every time we needed, you know, a little thing fixed. So,
Yeah,
and
I
also
really,
maintenance, having him come by and doing a checkup, you know, weekly or monthly. That way we're also being proactive instead of reactive to things that could break, you know, maintaining the slide outs, maintaining the awning, you know, engine. Luckily we keep ours small so we can take ours into a express oil tire engineers or whatever they're called. Quick tip, go into a oil change in place that has a bay. A lot of times if it's a regular oil change in place, they can't lift the big unit up if you don't have someone who does your oil, or if you don't do the oil or all your engine maintenance. So that was one thing that you also, so that covers a lot of the maintenance. We have our guys that know us by name now, our oil change in place and our engine repair, and we have Don that comes over. So we can get our engine maintenance done. For example, today, and I was just texting Jolie, my first employee, power window stopped working out on the front, the driver and passenger side. She drove it down 10 minutes down the road to the guys. It was a window motor. They fixed it in 20 minutes, and now it's good for, you know, the rest of the trip or whatever, or the booking coming up. So having just systems in place that are easy are really important.
oh, excellent answer. Super comprehensive. I really love, I mean, for me, the 2 things that are most important in all of the list of recommendations that you've given, Jerry, is, you know, find a guy, like make sure that you have a guy. Know that you've got a good quality maintenance person that you can work with. And I love also your insight around, once you start getting into multiple RVs, consider maybe investing in the same type of RV, because then your maintenance problems are always the same problem. And so you get a lot of economies of scale by knowing that you've got either backup parts, because it's the same part for all your rigs, or you've seen that problem before and you're more easily able to troubleshoot it if a renter is facing that problem out on the road. So those were really great points. Also reminding everybody, we wrap up all of these sessions transcribing the whole call, the whole panel, and we'll make sure that all this information is accessible. Nika, I'm gonna run over to you and ask you the same question. Then I'm gonna ask one question for everybody, and then I'm gonna have to wrap up. And we still have so many questions to go through, but as I said, we'll follow up through all of the comms channels. But in going on the subject of how you handle rentals that need repairs or something breaks down or it needs to be fixed, what do you do if you've got this rental and it also has a requirement for a fast turnaround to the next rental? Do you cancel that person's rental? Like, how do you handle the guest experience? You guys are known for guest experience. So how do you make sure, okay, something breaks down, but you got to deliver for a customer? What do you do?
Oh my gosh, make friends in the community. That's what you do. Because I can't tell you how many times we work very
Exactly.
closely with a lot of our competitors that have similar vehicles than we do. Luckily in LA, we have quite a bit of folks that do have the same vehicles. Literally the first time we encountered this, we went on Outdoorsy and we put in the vehicle name and then we searched and then we messaged everyone. And yeah, no, really, it's really important. Like, sometimes people think, oh, I don't want to talk to my competitors. That's not the way, because a lot of times they have better experience, or they have experience in maybe areas that you have not encountered. And I've called some of my competitors and I said, hey, this is a problem we're encountering. Have you seen this before? What the heck do we do? And we've rented vehicles from them and then stock them as if they're our owning vehicles. RVs, they don't have big Chill RV logos on them or anything. So we're able to rent their vehicles as if they're our own vehicles. And then, gosh, I mean, we're thankfully at this point also having a lot of vehicles. If something breaks down on unit A, sometimes or oftentimes we'll have a different vehicle with a couple of days in between gaps. So we're able to swap them, thankfully. Also having a team and knowing who you can go to for help. A lot of these, outside of like actual accidents, a lot of things that break down, at this point, we have people, reliable people that we can say, hey, we have an emergency, the AC broke, can you look at it after hours tonight, we'll pay you extra, please. And if you're good to people, they're willing to be good to you too, and they'll help out. So having a team, having a community is so important.
Could not agree with
Exactly.
you more.
And luckily,
Go ahead,
Dave is
Nicole.
very handy. Oh, sorry. Luckily, Dave is very handy, and he does, I'd say 90% of our repairs, including ACs and generators and all that good stuff. But we do have a mobile mechanic on call, and he comes out. He was just here a couple days ago. And our local RV store, they see us very frequently, know us by name, and it's helpful. But we do, like she was just saying, make friends with your local competitors. We are pretty good friends with somebody not too far from us. He has different units than we do, and we refer back and forth. And actually, he is delivering a trailer for us tomorrow. I'm going with him, and he's delivering and up, and I'm doing the walkthrough and the paperwork. You kind of have to help each other out. I know we got him. We had a big reservation up at a private, I don't even know compound, and we needed an extra unit, and Dave called him up, and sure enough, he got some business from it. We don't, like Nika does, we don't rent it from them. That's a cool concept. We just give them the business, and then they do the same. They help us out, and it's a good relationship back and forth, and we bounce ideas off each other, and it kind of helps, you sharpen your sword. You kind of work with like people, and but also work with people that are higher than you, so that you learn from them. That's helped us an awful lot.
Absolutely. Our whole company is built and based on the principles of community, working together, sharing ideas, and building up this wealth of knowledge to be able to provide that support and resource for everybody. I'm so glad to hear you guys say that as well. I'm going to close up with one last question. It's a bit gratuitous, but I'm going to ask you guys. Great. So you started, you had a vehicle, you knew that you could start by making sure that you paid back the loan and all the costs associated around the vehicle, and then you realized that you could grow into a larger business. What, from an Outdoorsy perspective, what has been the most valuable part of working with Outdoorsy, our team, or working on the platform? What was the most valuable part of the brand? And then if there's a suggestion that you have for us to grow into, please share that as well with us. And then I will close out our session for today, and we'll schedule the next one next month.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing is having all the systems all there at your fingertips, super easy to just plug in and play. I mean, I don't know what I would do for, a calendar. To show that there are books. That sounds simple, but that's huge. Pulling up on the website and seeing, okay, Fred is booked for a week and I can get it this next week and things like that. Insurance is a huge thing. Having it built in, that's a really big thing that a lot of people are focusing on, having it to where they select a 3-night rental. The second or third step is, which insurance option would you like? The lowest end or the highest end in the middle? That combined with just making everything super easy. Even the payments coming through across the board, everything has made, it would probably take me 2 years to even develop some kind of system and to facilitate just half of those things. So it just speeds up the process a lot.
Thank you, Jerry. Anything that you would have on the wish list? Nicole, take us into what your thoughts are.
I totally agree. And the platform is awesome. We love it. I really appreciate the attitude of the staff. Anybody we've ever had contact with has been amazing. I love the meetups. We even drove 3 hours to go meet Jessa in Reno just because we wanted to meet Jessa in person. So that says a lot about your staff. So kudos there, Jennifer, for you guys hiring awesome people. I'm sad you guys are all in Austin, or we'd come and see you guys more often, but that makes a huge difference. The attitude, the Facebook page, where, you know, Jessa's been wrangling some, but she's doing a great job with it. The app has been amazing. We use that all the time when we're on deliveries and somebody is trying to get a booking. And I mean, I'm able to take care of that while he's driving. So it really helps an awful lot. We're very thankful for you.
And we're very thankful for you too, Nicole, and also David. Really love you guys being part of it. And look, also another point to mention in terms of services and support, our owner community team that Jessa leads has a community council as well. So we've nominated 8 to 10 people that represent certain markets. So if you're in the South or you're in the West or you're in the East, everything changes in terms of what vehicles you should rent and what are the conditions and how to operate in those markets. So our community council, our Outdoorsy Community Council represents a good breadth of owners just like you guys. And I would encourage everybody that's dialed in today to know that they can join the Facebook owners group, access that community council, and realize another level of support there. So Nika, if you can share what your thoughts were, what is it about Outdoorsy that really helps you the most, and any point of view for areas that we should grow into. I'm loving seeing all the comments come in through chat, and I want everybody to know that we're going to reply and answer to all of these questions as well. And these series that we put on are monthly, and we will continue to do them. And I think we're going to enter a period where we focus more just on like owner specific rental business content. But Nika, can you share your insights with us, please?
Yeah, for me, the biggest thing about working with Outdoorsy and you, Jen, and the whole team is that, as I mentioned before, we had no idea what we were doing when we started. We were never in the travel industry. I literally didn't know what the heck a motorhome was before we got one. Like, really, we had to learn everything. And Outdoorsy, you guys have been so incredibly supportive. It's like having a big brother or sister, like literally hold my hand. And like, we've honestly, and we've had instances where, you know, not every single renter, unfortunately, is a great renter. Most are, but once in a while you run into some, you know, tricky situations. And more than once I've reached out to your team for just guidance and support, like what are best practices on doing this and addressing this. And I know I've talked to Evan a lot, and he's been able to, you know, just coach me on the whole thing. And it's every single thing, it's a learning experience. You know, you have to just tackle it as it approaches. Like you can't figure it all out ahead of time. So that's really been the biggest thing about working with you guys.
That's great to hear as well, Nika. Thank you so much. Guys, I could talk to you all day long. Honestly, this essentially represents what our whole company does all day, every day, but it's just so much more meaningful when we actually see the faces of the people that we're serving and that we're working for and working with. But it's 9:05, and so I'm a little worried. People always remind me to be respectful of time. So I'm gonna wrap up today's live panel with massive thank yous, first of all and foremost, to Nika, Nicole, and Jerry, all of which are pillars in Outdoorsy's owner community. You can find them easily in our Outdoorsy Facebook owners group. We will also be providing, as a wrap up to this panel, contact information if you want to reach out and have more one-to-one time. So I definitely want to thank all of you guys for taking your time to lead this panel discussion today. Also, for everybody else on the call, let me summarize, please, the resources that we have available that are online for our whole community and where you can go. I talked about the owner handbook that is launching today. That is a 30-page deep document, as well as content that you'll find on your dashboard. You'll find in the Facebook owners group. You'll find in blog posts, lots of ways and places for you to access that information. It has a ton of new content that's coming up and is specific to how to tackle some COVID issues and how to tackle some difficult renter issues. You can easily find that in the Facebook owners group under the individual tiles. The Facebook owners group is organized by tiles, so you'll find an announcement section where it will live. Also, interestingly, we talked about consignment. You'll find a consignment tile also in the Facebook owners group, and our team here will send the link of how to join the Facebook owners group easily. We do weekly updates to our Outdoorsy COVID-19 FAQ page and resources, so we'll send that link up in the follow-up email. And then, as I mentioned, the recording of this whole session will be there as well. And it will include at the end all of the questions from everybody in the chat function with answers back from our panelists. So a ton of resources for you guys, and we're going to continue to commit to these monthly owner live panel discussions. I also want to take a minute and thank the entire Outdoorsy marketing community team. There's a team of about 20 people behind me that work behind the scenes to put all of this together in terms of what topics, how do we get everybody organized, how do we build out these resources, and really proud to be working with such talented people. So thank you guys to everybody. If I could ask for everybody on the call, please share, please tell anybody about Outdoorsy, our company, particularly if you see somebody who owns an RV or if you spend time in parks or anywhere outdoors where someone could benefit by renting an RV for a day, a weekend, a week, or maybe consider making some additional income by renting out a vehicle and they just don't know how. Would love any word of mouth and any word of mouth that you would share about the company. Please also feel free to send me an email anytime you want. My email is jen@outdoorsy.com. And I can tell you that all the founders of this company and everybody that works for Outdoorsy absolutely loves spending time with people that we're working for, and you guys are it. So thank you so much. I'm going to wrap up here, but we're going to follow up with all those resources, and we'll see you in a month.
See ya.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for hosting us.
Thank you so much. Have a great day. Thank you.
Bye.